for having me today. I'm just going to briefly go over a program that we currently have at the Sheriff's Office. And if you did not know who this is our Sheriff, Sheriff John Bina. He was also the former police chief of Orlando. So he's very adamant about our community service programs and what we provide to our community. So I am blessed to be in my 27th year at the Sheriff's Office, and I'm also a retired military veteran. I was a police instructor where I was able to teach anti-terrorism and crime prevention as well in the military. So I got a chance to teach all over the world, so I'm very proud of that opportunity. I also work for the Attorney General's office out of Tallahassee. I teach the crime prevention classes and courses to law enforcement and corporate agencies that desire to learn more about how to keep their residential, commercial, and places of worship safe. I'm also the chaplain coordinator for the Sheriff's Office. We have about 20 different faith religious leaders who were very, very involved in the Pulse incident and therefore have been in the community for a very long time. And I'm also the senior pastor of Mount Zion Tabernacle Christian Church, which is here in Orlando area near John Young Parkway. So some of the other programs we do provide, we provide presence and patrol training. That's usually what we do with our security agencies that may be with hotels or resorts and things like that. I work the iDrive Disney area, but I'm also kind of county-wide, as all of our crime prevention officers are. There's only 4 of us for the entire county. So we handle every business, place of worship, convenience store, subdivision, apartment complex, et cetera, et cetera. We provide crime scene and awareness identification presentations, personal safety, elderly identification of abuse, credit card fraud, and identity theft. But there are so many others, but those are some of the major ones we do on a consistent basis. I've been a part of the crime prevention unit 14 out of my 27 years, and I've worked over the years with our senior crimes coordinator who retired earlier this year. Her name was Laura Lang. She had been around for a very, very, very long time. So our new coordinator is Miss Elvie. She's definitely excited about the position and learning as she goes. So I do kind of walk hand in hand with her and share the knowledge that I do have. So we're talking about special needs, and I give this analogy that special needs us. And so what I mean by that is we have a growing part in helping those who are in special needs to know that people are aware and the community is involved. We found the leading cause for wandering and missing persons occurrences and special needs related issues, dementia, Alzheimer's, autism, and the numbers are growing across the country. But law enforcement is still looking for ways to educate the communities that they partner with. Every agency has their own design. So there's nothing that I may have something similar to another agency, but they may just have a different name or a different acronym. But we all tend to work consistently with one another for that need to be able to interact wherever we need to. So our program is called the SNAP program, and basically it's special needs. It's an awareness program that was designed to help law enforcement and the community effectively identify wandering and missing persons or those in need of special needs attention. Those with current and declining mental capacities to identify locations, persons, or things that would normally appear familiar with them. My mother, who also passed away about 4 years ago now, had Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and I moved her here for the last 4 or 5 years of her life. So I was able to see the issues that come with it, but also just knowing that I was there for her throughout her situation has definitely enlightened me about having a care and a concern, especially for those who may have these situations. So with our program, though, we give the opportunity for the community to join. However, it does not guarantee the program will locate or return a missing person. We do our very best, and we'll talk a little bit as we go further into the program, what exactly will happen if something were to come up. Nor does it relieve responsibility for the duties of the caregiver or family member assigned to the special needs person. The SNAP program is not anything that has a GPS or an electronic connection to the bracelet that is issued to them. So it is something that we use from a interaction standpoint. If law enforcement was to make contact with that person, they would know immediately what to do from the Orange County area. So an authorized support person, whoever that might be, will complete the SNAP application. And on the application is simple logistics of name and date of birth, physical and psychological description, any medical conditions we need to know about, any past experiences, if this person has wandered off before or has a history of wandering, where they usually may end up when they do wander. And then, of course, a current or updated photo. And we always advise if there's any major changes, like you may change hairstyles to a point where it's something from what they had to something more permanent, then we would ask that they would give us an updated photo if something has definitely changed. If there's any new markings or tattoos or things like that, we ask for those things as well so that we can update our database and make sure we have what we need when law enforcement was to encounter them. But once it's reviewed and approved, a SNAP bracelet is issued. They're all given a distinct and unique receipt number, free of charge. This program is, and it gives the opportunity for law enforcement to know how to make contact if we need to. So this is what the bracelet looks like. It's a red bracelet on it. You can see the particulars would be on the bracelet. It does have a locking system, so it is pretty good to stay on. Doesn't easily fall off. If they were to go in the water, it doesn't change anything on the bracelet. As you can see, nothing, the markings still stay where they are. If you would like, this number is directly to Miss LV, which is the 407-254-7375 number. And for those who did not know, our non-emergency number, a lot of people know our 911 number, of course, but our non-emergency number is 407-836-4357 or HELP. We always ask those who can and will to keep that in their phones as well. We also recommend that you please visit our website, www.ocso.com, and not just for this particular reason, but even if you click on our crime information block, it will show you all the reported crime within your area, within a 2-mile radius, and it updates itself regularly. So that's a very easy thing to do that you might want to know. When you click on it, it'll tell you what zone you are in, like down at the bottom where it says zone 10A, but it will tell you what your zone is, and then it will connect you to all the reported crime in that area. And that's kind of all I had for that right now. What I will go into is saying that if an occurrence were to happen where a person who was a part of the program went missing and you made the call to law enforcement, we would get the BOLO and we would put that out, which is called Be on the Lookout. We would give that information. It would go out to all of our deputies, detectives, anyone that was out and about that had access to a computer or a cell phone would get that alert. And in the midst of their travels, if they were to make contact with that person, on that bracelet would give them the number that they would need. We have a portal that they would go into the portal, and I'll kind of show you what that looks like. And it would give us access to a person's number or name, address, date of birth. Then also it would give us what their issue may have been, and a primary and a secondary contact person. So it does help us in the need of not just one person, but 2 people we can make contact with, because we do know things can happen when you cannot be near your phone, or something may have occurred where you're not able to reach it or answer it, or whatever the case may be. So we're able to reach 2 sets of people. With that program, we have been very involved with it. We go around and we promote it to a lot of our, not just residential areas, but our senior communities, our senior apartment communities. And we even offer it within the systems of the rehab centers. Sometimes they're not there permanently, they're there temporarily. And we do it by lead pamphlets for the caseworkers to give this to those actual family members. If they decide they want to be a part of the program, we would meet with them at another time and go over it with them. Okay, thought it phased out. We also have a program called the CAT program, and that's combating auto theft. And you may say, well, what good is that for you, for someone, if that person also owned the vehicle? We have it where there's a same registry set up like the bracelet, that if we saw their vehicle out between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m., you had given us authorization to make a stop without having to have probable cause. So we've used that a lot with some elderly or some Alzheimer's or dementia that have wandered off in their vehicles, and we found them in different areas.
Was there anything about home safety that you wanted to share?
I'm sorry, you cut off.
Master Deputy, was there anything about home safety, any prevention or any tips that you had?
Yes, I didn't want to go into the program, the PowerPoint, because it can get a little lengthy. But what we're recommending, we have about 4 days left of school, and we tell people this: across the nation, crime goes up. And so with that being said, we're asking you to go back and double check. What we found in most residential areas is people leave their garage doors up unattended. And so with that, that leaves the opportunity for crime. And so we always recommend that you, if you're not in the midst of your garage, that you would close it. Keep it down, keep it closed. Your garage area is also where your car usually would be, but a lot of people don't use the garage for their cars. They use it for storage units and things like that. So we recommend that you would lock your doors. We did a survey over the last 3 years. 70% of the cars that were broken into were unlocked. 70% of the vehicles that were broken into where a firearm was taken were unlocked. And so as you can see, that is a very, very important issue. We really try to drive home to those who are actual gun owners as well. And if you have it in your home, we still recommend that you use some form of a safe when you're not in the home, not under your bed, not in your closet, in your favorite drawer, but an actual safe that you could use when you're not at home and the firearm is at home. We're recommending, if you did not know, if you decide to go on vacation for longer than up to 30 days, that the post office will hold your mail for 30 days. It doesn't cost you a dime. You just go in there and let them know you're going to be out of town, and they will take a plastic bin, set it in the corner, and all of your mail that comes in, they will rubber band it and stick it right in that bin until you get back and you're able to come and pick it up. So that's something to think about as well. And of course, if you're going to be traveling out of town, there are so many things now you can do in your home. If you go to any of the major places like Home Depot and Lowe's and all that, they have bulbs, LED bulbing that will come on at dusk and go off in the morning time. So you don't even have to be home to turn off or turn on your lighting. And that's the most important thing we really, really stress is lighting around your homes in the evening times and dusk times. So with all that being said, we're available. We provide free residential surveys. We can come to your home and provide that survey free of charge. And if you own a business in Orange County, we can come to your business as well and provide a commercial survey for your business as well.
Master Deputy Murray, do you do that also like for child safety? I know most of the parents on our panel tonight are interested in protecting their children from elopement. So like, I know like the garage.
Yes, there are things you can do for your windows. It's almost as easy as ordering little small C-clamps. They come with, it's like a little C-clamp you can put on your window rails that doesn't allow your window to be raised up. And they actually make some that are headless, meaning you can use a hex key to tighten it on the rails that will keep your windows from being raised up in case you were afraid that a child might go out of the window. There are different kind of sliding glass door locks. Most homes in Florida have sliding glass doors if you didn't upgrade. So there are things with that as well. We can help you with any security ideas you might want, any camera settings you want to put in place. So we're available for all of those kind of things during the assessment of your property.
So do we reach out to that number, the helpline, to schedule that? Like if the families wanted to have someone come out and do an assessment of security, I mean, for someone, I think our parents are more worried about someone getting out than getting in.
Mm-hmm.
So would that be the number that they would call to have someone come out?
Yes, you can email me directly.
Okay.
And here's my email, stanley.murray@ocfl.net. If Ms. Robin, if you could put that in the group chat. And you may reach out, and what we will do, we'll find out what area you are in, and we will set you up with the crime prevention practitioner to make arrangements to come to your home.
There is a question from one of our parents that lives in Osceola County. Would you have connections in neighboring counties for similar programs?
I do. We have a crime prevention practitioners association that is statewide, but we also have a Central Florida chapter, and I'm one of the regional directors. I also regional direct for Seminole and Lake County as well. So the Seminole, the Osceola County person, I know who to connect you with. Yes.
Great. Do you do any other kind of Project Lifesaver available from St. Lucie? Do you do any other kind of training? I know you said that you work with all different populations, but like, you know, I know that there's some programs, like if you have a child that's deaf, they put a sign in your neighborhood for drivers. Is there anything?
We still have some signs left. If you would give me an email, I can see how many are left in our supply. And basically it says, to be careful of children in your neighborhood, and has our sheriff's office logo. And it's something that we do put up and provide free of charge. Yes, ma'am. So if anyone would desire that, if they would just email me and say they would desire a yard sign, we can definitely do our best to get them one.
Yeah, I think he asked if we would email him and he would get us the connections for each one of the neighboring counties. So his email should be in the chat. I guess, is there any other information that you have for us from your professional point of view as far as helping with?
Yes, I would just add that, and you guys know, because you all are a part of what you've been doing here for a very long time, but we all know that it only takes a second to turn our head and they're gone. They've wandered off, they've missed. So I would just say, keep the repetition. Do not lose value in it. Do not lose sight of it. And if you're getting overwhelmed, it is okay to reach out for help. What we found with a lot of incidents in the past, if we went to the caretaker or the caregiver, who's usually a family member, they were just burnt out. They said, well, I just closed my eyes for a second and I forgot. And they had a locking system set up, but they just forgot. They got tired, they sat down, they dozed off, they woke up, and their mom or whoever they were caretaking left and wandered off. So as you can tell, a lot of it's just repetition and acknowledging when you think you have reached your ceiling to get that extra help that you need. And so I would love to, if there's any other programs you guys have that we can help divvy out to those citizens who call, we don't have a problem helping along that information as well. If you come across anything new that you have encountered that appears to work with certain situations. Do you guys meet regularly?
We usually have a monthly program for our parents. And then we also have regular programs for different age groups.
Okay.
One of the things that we did share when we were publicizing this was that this is not just a program for people who wander or elope, but with our population, we have several individuals that are nonverbal. So having a plan of communication in place. I didn't see exactly what was on the bracelets, but I know, when my daughter was little and we'd go to Disney, I always made sure she had a bracelet or something that had her name and a phone number on it, because she wasn't able to communicate it herself. And I didn't know if you could detail what maybe is on the bracelet, or any strategies you come up with when you run into someone who can't speak or know a phone number.
Right. Well, for us with law enforcement, we don't necessarily put the pertinent information on there, because we kind of don't want, people having information that of other people's phone numbers and stuff. Things are just so different now. But what it is there is a serialized number. And if they were to call, but it does tell them to call 911. So if they were to call 911, give us that serial number, then the dispatcher would also be, while they're sending a deputy, would also be going into the computer, pulling up the information. And with that,
which is better than my approach.
Right. So the goal is to, first of all, get the safety of the person as quick as possible, and then trying to get the respondent or whoever would respond. We just want to get law enforcement to them ASAP.
So 911 knows if somebody has that red bracelet or whatever the other county is, that is something that they're trained to know what to do with.
Even if they're not aware of our program, on the bracelet it says call 911.
Okay.
So, and it'll say Orange County Sheriff's Office. So they know that they have to reach the sheriff's office dispatchers. So when
Right.
they would call 911 for their own agency, their agency would immediately call our dispatchers and they would communicate the information. Yes, ma'am.
There's a question in the chat. It says, is Project Lifesaver available? And the family that's asking is from St. Lucie County. And she also asked if they have Project Lifesaver in their county and they travel to Orlando, does the Orlando Sheriff Department have a team, a Project Lifesaver team?
If it has the pertinent information of the dispatching, what it says on the bracelet, if it says call 911, then we automatically know we need to get the police involved. Does that make sense? And from there, our dispatchers would make the accommodations to whatever county or whatever area that the bracelet would originate from. Everyone's program may have a different setup. So there is no collective that they all buy into. So as you can see, we have our own program. So Orlando Police may have something different. Maitland, Winter Park, Miami-Dade may have something. So even though it's a separate program, at the end of the day, they all recommend that 911 be called. So getting a law enforcement officer to the person is a start. And from there, we can work our way out of whatever we need to get to make contact. Does that make sense?
Yes. And Melissa, if you have a follow-up question, feel free to unmute. And
Yeah, so Project Lifesaver, the bracelet is a GPS signal. And in St. Lucie County, they have a whole team where they pull out, they have this crazy contraption and they have a whole team with a GPS signal. And sometimes we come up there, like say the family cafe, and my child got lost one time and it was crazy busy there. Do you guys have that kind of GPS?
No, we do not.
Okay, because someone had said it was in your area, so just one of those.
No, it is not in our area this time.
Okay.
What is the radius of what St. Lucie County has?
That I'm not sure.
Okay.
It would be, it would be, so basically if she were to get lost, we call 911 and we say,
Right.
my child has, she's lost, she has
Right.
Project Lifesaver. They notify that particular police department and they bring out their team and then they, with their, all their technology, and they try to narrow down, by the GPS signal off that bracelet where she could possibly be.
Right. But you have to understand that because that's not a nationwide thing, every
Okay.
police department would not have access to that information nor access to
Okay.
that capability.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I know there's other resources that we have as well. I don't know.
I would also say reach out to our Children's Safety Village if you've not heard of it. That's where you're provided with bike helmets, seatbelt safety, child seats, and there are times that they provide water safety presentation. So that's another place, the Children's Safety Village as well.
I was just going to say there's a couple different things out there. I don't know if anyone wants to chime in or speak up if they have any of these. When we were doing research and finding out information for the presentation, Apple has an AirTag.
Yes.
For tracking.
Actually, my family has it. I have it on all of my children's cars. We also have, of course, Life 360, if you haven't used that before, for cell phones as well. But the Apple AirTag, it does work. You have to be kind of Apple savvy, which I'm not, but my wife is really good at it. So I'm learning it because I need to know how it works. But it does work. You can put it on keychains, backpacks. You can put it in the clothing, whatever wallets or whatever they might carry. And it does pretty accurate on where it pings. So it's found to be pretty good. And I've seen it show up when our kids were in Tallahassee. We're able to see it from here.
That might be one option for your family. Another company that makes a device is called Tracky, and just some different options. So it says like full USA and worldwide coverage. They're a US based company. It might be something that could work for your family as far as helping you for wandering and GPS system. It is a monthly fee, so I can email this to everyone after the presentation as well. And then there's also one that I just found tonight called Angel Sense, and Carrie was talking about that as well. They offer a free service for the first month and then a GPS subscription per month. So that is an option. And then there's also just having a waterproof ID bracelet, which is very similar to what we talked about tonight for your children. So.
And the waterproof ID bracelet, it has, it's a bracelet that goes on your wrist and it has like a little waterproof compartment where you could put contact information. So if you were, at a theme park or just wherever, and they could wear it all the time, obviously, but if you were, they would get lost, somebody could open it and find the contact information to be able to reach the emergency contact person. But that does not have a GPS on it.
I'll send these out to you after our presentation tonight so you can see if any.
There's a couple of comments in the chat. Allison just said, be aware Apple AirTag does not work in rural areas and it only pings off Apple devices. Emily said, reminder that safeguards to keep child in-house also may prevent rescue from access in emergency. It's a good point. And Allison said that they recently purchased Angel Sense. It works off AT&T and T-Mobile, the GPS tracker, and there's also a GeoBit, which works off of Verizon.
Okay.
And I actually have the phone application Life 360, which once again, I said I can endorse what I have, and I've had personal experience with it. That's another one that does pretty well too. But you would have to just research and see what pretty much works for you and what you're trying to accomplish.
And then we also invited an ABA specialist. Hi, Arnell. Thank you for joining us tonight. One of the things that we offer through the foundation are ABA scholarships. And I used ABA for my daughter, who was a runner. Anytime she saw a corridor, grocery store aisle, a library aisle, a parking lot aisle. My daughter was a runner when she was little, and we did use ABA. So Arnell, I didn't know if you had anything that you wanted to add to share with parents. The repetition that our Master Deputy Murray shared with us is the thing that I learned: consistency and repetition. And if it meant I said we were leaving if she ran, we had to leave when she ran. So the exhaustion part on the parent side is definitely part of the challenge. But do you want to share some of your knowledge and experience with us this evening?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So, like Deputy said, and what Chrissy said, it's teaching, right? The repetition, yes, but it's all about the teaching part, right? But then before we even get into the teaching part, and if your children receive ABA services, what we would like, we teach our families, we look at the function of the behavior, right? Why is my son or why is my daughter engaging in this behavior? Because that's the first thing for any behavior. It could be elopement, it could be hitting others, it could be hitting yourself, right? It could be snatching, it could be anything. So you think of a behavior. So in this instance, we're looking at the behavior of elopement, and we can define that as running away, leaving the house without permission, leaving your side more than 10 feet away. So when you're looking at leaving your supervision, right? We look at why they're engaging in that behavior. And just to kind of summarize it, we look at, there are 4 main functions of behaviors. And it could be one of these functions, or it could be a combination. So if you all can remember the acronym SEAT, have a seat. So we're looking at SEAT. So is the behavior, is elopement a sensory function? Is it an escape function? Is it an attention function? Or is it something like a tangible function? And I can kind of give you guys a little bit of example of what each of those functions mean. So a sensory function would be running away. Running feels good to me. So if you're a runner, you're running because it feels good. So right, so you're gonna run. An escape function would be, I don't want to do what you're asking me to do, so I'm gonna run away. So often children with or without disabilities, if you present some kind of a task, right? It could be anything. It could be potty training, it could be doing homework, it could be cleaning up, right? It could be putting away your toys. They don't want to do something, so therefore, what are they going to do? They're going to try and run away from you, right? So they're trying to escape that task, right? So that's the E function. It could be in the A function, which is attention. I'm going to run away from you because I want your reaction, right? I want you to look at me. I want you to chase me. And I work with a lot of children with disabilities, autism for the most part, but ADHD and Down syndrome. And they do engage in elopement because they want you to chase them. They look back and they're laughing, and when you chase them, it's funny, right? So it kind of becomes a game, right? I see some head nods, right? Or it could be a tangible function. We're running away from you, right? Or I'm leaving the house, I'm going somewhere, I'm leaving your permission because I want to go get something. So perfect example, my children, my young 1.5 will do this. So when we go out to, let's say, the grocery store, so guess what? She would run away and try to go somewhere because she wants to go get something. Either she sees juice or fruit and she'll go and run away, right? So it could be a combination of those things. So just to kind of summarize, it could be one of those functions or it could be a combination of those functions. So what we do with ABA and what you guys can do as parents, you want to determine what's the function. Why is my son or why is my daughter engaging in this behavior? And then the more important part is, what am I going to teach you? What can I teach my child? What to do or what to say, right? If it's a sensory behavior, this feels good, then I can teach you what would be an appropriate place and an appropriate time to run. Maybe going to the park where it's fenced in and you can run, right? Or if it's an attention, you can teach them to get your attention and say, hi, look at me, play with me, right? It could be an escape. Instead of running away because they don't want to work, it could be asking for a break. It could be telling you all done, right? Or if it's something like a tangible, meaning I want something, I want to play, I want something to have, to get. It could be teaching them to use their words, right? If they're vocal, we can teach them to say one word requests, or if they have, more words, and we can teach them to use more words. Can I go? One of the children that I work with, he's non-vocal, but we're using what's called a picture, right? Picture exchange communication. So we have a picture of him with a go sign. So if he wants to go, he will give us that picture, right? And so just teaching him really to communicate how to get their wants and their needs met, and then replacing those behavior with something that's functional according to the function of the behavior. Do you guys have any questions or any comments so far?
Can I chime in on that?
Yes, sir.
What Mr. Arnell just gave us, I would recommend, if you decide to become a part of the program we do have, that information is critical. Because if we have a child that likes to be chased and we were to go up to approach them and they start running, we wouldn't know that. Does that make sense? So that kind of pertinent information would need to go into the database when we interact. Because, until we make physical contact where we actually have hands on, we might not know that, in a simple foot pursuit, with that person. So that would help alleviate a lot of, incidents, if you will, because we would be able to articulate that instead of them maybe going quote unquote, maybe being inappropriately arrested, the bracelet will give us the indication we need to make a call. We make a call, we find out, oh, that's part of what they do. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. It'd make a big difference if somebody was running away from you and you knew that
Right.
was their MO. They won't get hurt.
Exactly. It would definitely help us. And if we got them in our vehicle, we'd be able to say, okay, what they did is normal to them. Does that make sense? May not be normal to us, but that's normal to them. And that would also help us, make sure that we are really, really taking the seriousness of these bracelets. And it's going to cause me now to go back and get with our senior coordinator. And we're going to see if we can add a little bit more in our SNAP program to our new deputies that come in and to our original block training we do every year. So that not just old, but new deputies are aware these are some of the things that come about. So we're kind of all helping each other here tonight. So I'll definitely be reaching out to you, Ms. Robin, and you, Mr. Arnell, with some of those things you just gave me tonight, because you really just enlightened me on some things. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go to another meeting, but are there any more questions for me tonight?
Doesn't look like it, but thank you so much for being here. I know that a couple of the people with adjoining counties will probably send you an email, and maybe Robin will even do that, and we could get a list that we could share with our families.
It looks like James Johnson might have a question. You have your hand raised.
My only question was, how long does it take? Thank you, officer, for coming to the program. How
Yes, sir.
long does it take for the bracelet to be sent if we apply for one?
COVID's changed some things, but I would think it's not. I'll give myself 2 weeks. That's just me talking. But I will give Miss Elby to make sure things haven't changed over time, because I don't know where they're actually being made and coming from. Since some businesses closed down, we don't have the same vendors anymore. So I have to find out exactly, but I can get the information sent to Ms. Robin by tomorrow morning, if that's okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
real quick before you go, I just want to share as one of our board members, as a Down Syndrome Foundation, we believe that 50% of our mission is educating the community about the Down syndrome experience. So as much as we look at helping our families, we also know that reaching out and enlightening the community is really important. So I'm glad that you were able to take something away with you from the encounter with our organization. And when you do that training, if you would like anyone from our foundation specifically to talk about people with Down syndrome, or if we can provide, like Arnell or another professional with ABA experience to come out and assist you in any way, we're also here to serve your community, because I think it takes everybody, it takes a village, right, for us all to do well. So we appreciate you giving your time and looking out for our loved ones and serving on the front line every day.
Thank you, and I will be reaching out. I think that's something we might need to look into putting together, especially when we have Mental Health Awareness Month and things like that. I think that's going to be awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
I really fast, I want to share our website with everyone. I don't know if you've seen this before, but these are all of our different scholarships, and one of them is the ABA scholarship. It is given each semester, January, May, and September. So we offer scholarships to help with applied behavior analysis. And if you read this and take the time to look at it on the website, there's an application form. If you have any questions, or if you need any help in completing the application, please let me know. I'm happy to assist you. But we want to make sure that you're getting the support you need so that you can help your child. So,
well, in addition to ABA, am I still on? Yeah, not muted. For our families, swimming. We have a swim scholarship also, and anywhere you go in Florida, if your kids get out, there's a lake, there's a pond, there's a pool, there's the ocean. So we really believe that the swim scholarship is good for many purposes. One is exercise, another is enjoying time with their peers, but ultimately it's also for safety. So as soon as your little ones can crawl or walk, but anytime that you have a little one that can move, swimming is going to be super important. And then I did just see somebody asked me if my daughter outgrew it. No, she has not outgrown it.
Well,
It-
that's
we
not
just-
really true. She
Oh,
doesn't
wait,
just
let me
take
finish.
off.
No,
Give,
no,
give my
she-
friend some credit.
no. She hasn't outgrown it. Really, really hard to overcome it. There's a difference, right? Like, I think if I didn't do ABA and I didn't spend the time and I didn't reinforce, then I don't know where we would be. But no, now she's responsible. And I think there's a difference now, like Camille says, if she disappears, it's because she believes she is completely capable to go do the things that she's doing. And it's me that's worried, not her, right? So I think as they get older, I'm fortunate that Adriana is fairly articulate, but for me not to panic, which sometimes I still do. We live on a lake, but she can swim. But when we're in big places, for me to be calm, I've had to know that she knows our phone number, she knows our address, she knows how to spell her last name. And Bankalari wasn't easy to learn to spell, but all of those things had to be put in place so that we knew she could be safe, right? And so, you know, as an organization, we have this motto and belief that what we want to do is teach our kids to be included in the community. So when we go to the grocery store and she says, okay, mom, you're getting the fruit, I'm going to go get ice cream, I want her to be able to go do that. But for me to allow her to go do that, where I don't think she's disappearing, then I had to work to get to the place where I knew she could call me if she got lost, or report, you know, my name or my phone number or something like that. So I don't know that she grew out of it, maybe a little bit, but I will tell you, when we went
She
to the,
matured out of it.
yes, she matured out of it. But when we would go to the grocery store, literally, I would tell her if she ran down the aisle the first time, she had to keep her hand, and I think Camille might have been the one that told me that, keep her hand on the cart, right? And then if she ran a second time, I had to leave my cart full of stuff and take her out. So the manager at my Publix knows me and Adriana really, really well, because I'd be like, I'll be back, but I got to take her home. Yes
I
or
think
no?
yeah.
No, I think you've listed so many good things that we want our parents just to know and to do every single time that we we have parent trainings, in the home and the community. I think it's all it's all what you've done so far, like what you will continue to do. That's why you're seeing less and less instances of elopement and more learning. Is that ability to know that this is what I need to do before the behavior even happens. So that's where we as ABA providers, we teach our families to know these strategies. Like you said, one of the strategies you said, I need to keep my hand on that cart, right? And then that if my daughter engaged in elopement, then this is what I need to do, right? Which is in your case to leave. And the more you do that, right, on a consistent basis, the more they're learning that if I want to continue shopping with my mom, right, and maybe buying the stuff that I like, I need to follow these rules, right? And maybe you've done that many times, right?
1,000, a
Thousands
million
times, right? Just imagine typically developing children, how many times we have to tell them so many things, right? And it just really takes that consistency. And I think that's where we as parents and caregivers, it really does take a village, right? You want to make sure that everyone is on the same page at school. Your ABA providers should be collaborating with other professionals, teachers, speech therapists, occupational therapists, so that way we're all on the same page. We know that this is what we need to do before elopement happens, right? But then this is what we need to do if elopement happens. So just a perfect example, right? A child will maybe learn to elope. Maybe they're not eloping the first time they elope. It's not for attention. But in my experience, it becomes attention because of the reaction that we give, right? In our field, we say bad attention is better than no attention. Just imagine the reaction that we give when a child elopes. Oh my goodness, what are you doing? Stop, come back. Right? You see how excited I am, even though it's negative attention? For a child with or without autism, that's exciting. Like my eyes get bigger, my mouth gets wider, my tone gets louder, right? And so they learn in time that, oh, if I run away from you, I get this kind of reaction. And plus I get chased. This is fun, right? I don't need to say anything. I don't need to use my words. I don't need to think about what to say or what to do. All I got to do is just bolt. And then someone is going to give me a show and they're going to run after me.
And then what
Right.
happens when you get caught? If you're in a
Right.
parking lot, you're
And you
safe,
get
and oh my gosh, I love
exactly
you, you're
right. What are you
okay. And
doing? Right. And so, right.
yeah,
And so, like I said, it's normal for us to react a certain way. However, our children, right, very smart, very much our smart children, they learn like this is what I gotta do for my mom and dad, my teachers, to give me the things that I want. So therefore, I'm gonna keep doing it, right? And that's where that importance of having that knowing the science of behavior, right? Having these ABA, getting some kind of behavioral training where you know what you need to do before the behavior happens, right? Some strategies, some proactive strategies, but then what to do if behavior does happen, right? So that way we can start decreasing those behaviors and we can start teaching them replacement skills. Because if we don't teach them ways to replace, if all we're saying is no, no, don't do that, don't do this, they're never going to learn what to do instead. They're never going to learn to say, I need to leave. Can I go here? Can I do that? Right? So, you know, just to kind of, you know, some things to kind of add to what you're saying.
and giving your friend credit, Camille. I mean, my daughter still does elope for attention. I mean, if she's not getting attention that she wants, she will leave. And we've had to tell people, her friends included, ignore her because she really wants someone to go after her and say, oh, why are you sitting by yourself? And why are you doing this? And why are you doing that? Which it's a difference. She's safe, but it's still a behavior that's learned, and so it's not a one and done. I guess that's what I would say. There's constant learning, and I've always said that ABA is more for me than my child because I'm the one that needs my behavior modified so that she's successful. So
yeah, so that's a good point. I mean, I would suggest for all the families here that if you are currently receiving ABA service, your children are receiving ABA services, I would really encourage to participate. I would really encourage to learn the strategies, because we're only, there maybe 5% of the time, right? 10% of their time. But if we don't learn the strategies, we're never going to be consistent, right? So, even if they go to the clinic or even if we as providers go to the home, if you are not participating and learning, you may not make a ton of progress. So that would be my thing. For me, if I'm going to go to your home, if we're going to go into the community, I want to make sure that I'm giving you the strategies, I'm giving you the knowledge. So that way, the sooner you kick me out, the sooner I'm out of your life, the better.
So one of the comments in the chat, Arnell, is how do we deal with the running without chasing? I'm having
Yes.
a hard time because my first reaction is keeping him safe. In other words, chasing after him as it's often in a parking lot or by a street.
Great. Yeah, that's a great question. So my suggestion, so for something like that, if they don't have the skill yet, or if they're going to run away in an area like the parking lot, I will never let go of your hand. I will always hold your hand as a proactive strategy, right? But now we go into the teaching, right? So now this is where the challenging, it's my opinion for all my families, because we actually have to spend time teaching you. So for me, what I've done, what I've recommended, what I do with my families right now, we go to an area that is safe. So an example would be, we go to a park where a child cannot unlock and it has a fence. And I'm going to teach you those communication. Either come teach me to chase you. So if you run away, I know you're not going to get hurt because it's fenced in, right? So I'm not going to run after you, but when you're no longer trying to look at me for attention, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to you and I'm going to teach you. If you're vocal, if you can say chase, I am going to teach you to repeat my words chase. The moment you say chase, I am going to run after you. I'm going to make it so much fun. But then if you run away without saying chase, I'm not going to run after you. Right? And so it's just repetition, right? It's learning to do this in this safe environment. And then what we're doing is then trying to generalize it in different settings, right? So going home in your backyard where it's fenced in, right? Or then going into a grocery where, for me, this is what I've done in the groceries with my families, where we set it up where, okay, you're running away from me. Either you want to go get something or you want me to chase after you. Where I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my environment where I'm going to look at my exit sign and I'm going to designate people, either family members, or maybe I'm going to talk to the grocery, right, managers, and saying, this is what we're doing, right? If you can help us out, right? It really takes the whole community, right? Because in order for you to really learn to stay with me and to use your words to communicate, I want to make sure that I'm targeting this program in a variety of settings, not just in my backyard, not just in the park with fenced in. I'm teaching it to you wherever we go. And little by little, I'm letting go of my hand because I know you're going to stay with me, right? So chasing doesn't, or eloping is not just you asking me to chase, right? It's not just that one program where you're asking to be chased. In an ABA program, we teach them other safety skills, staying with you, right? Staying by your side, walking with you when you're going somewhere. Also, responding to stop and come here, right? So it's not just asking to go, also tolerating no, tolerating wait, tolerating that you need to stay with me. I don't need to hold your hand, but you have to stay with me. So that's just really one component of really putting elopement into what we call extinction, right? Reducing or eliminating extinction or elopement. So it's not just you communicating, but also teaching you other things like other safety skills. Did that answer your question? I'm not sure who asked that.
She's shaking her head, yes.
Okay. And there's a question: how would you use ABC training for elopement? So ABC, it's an acronym, right? A is for antecedent, B is the behavior, and C is the consequence. So we use this. We take ABC data to really to determine the function of the behavior. So if you guys want to participate, you can. So for example, I'm going to give some examples for my the learners that I work with, right? So recently I went to a school and I observed a child with Down syndrome, and this is what's happening. The child ran and eloped to the stairs, right, and start climbing up the stairs, right? That's the behavior, eloping to the stairs. And what was the antecedent? Right, the antecedent was we are walking. So this is what's happening before the behavior. We're walking to speech therapy, right? And then he saw the stairs, right? And then as soon as he saw the stairs, he just bolted and ran out, right? And so the consequence was the speech therapist chased after the child and then carried the child, right? And then brought him to the speech therapy. So then we look at, why did this child ran to the stairs? What's the function of the behavior? We determine the function based on what happened before and what's happening after. So the more I find out about this child, the more I see, oh, he loves climbing. So now this is where the T on the function is important. So the function is tangible, access to tangible. So he likes climbing on the stairs. So therefore, he eloped to ran on the stairs. And we also learned that it's escape. I don't want to do speech therapy. So therefore, I'm gonna run away whenever we go to speech therapy because I want to run away from this person, right? And then I also observed that this child is laughing while he's running, right? And so therefore he's laughing. And then if the therapist come after him with all these reactions, therefore, guess what? I'm reinforcing that behavior. right? So when you don't know the function, that's where you start looking at what was happening before the elopement happens, and then what happened after the elopement. So did I give you a reaction? Did I give you what you want? Right? So if I ran away and then I give you what you want, then I'm reinforcing that behavior. If you're running away and you're looking and smiling, and then I come and talk to you and I run after you, right? Then I'm reinforcing that behavior. So for us, right, and I teach my family, you will only run after them if their life is in danger. If you know that they're gonna get hurt, right? You're gonna go after them and get them. However, if you get them, it's best not to say anything. Not to say anything, not to kind of, it's like it's a big deal, but you don't make it a big deal. Because if you go and make that big reaction, then you've taught them that, oh, I am gonna give you, this is what they can do in the future when I want mom and dad to give me that kind of attention. So it may not be attention at first, but then it turns into attention-seeking behavior. So kids are smart. They're learning. They've learned based on what we do, on how we react, on those consequences. So when we look at consequence, it's not just punishment. It's like everything that happened after the behavior. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So kind of, I challenge you guys, I challenge everyone to kind of look at your children and kind of look at what is the function of my child's behavior? Why are they doing this? Right? Because that really is the most important thing. Like the snaps, those bracelets are all great. Those are all strategies that we can do when it happens, right? Everything is panic mode, like everything breaks loose, all hell breaks loose. That's what I can do to help them. But in long term, right now, anybody can be taught. It doesn't matter how old your child is. It doesn't matter if they're vocal or non-vocal, right? We can teach them. We can teach them to communicate. So we have to think about what's the function of their elopement, and then what can I teach them as a replacement for that behavior? Because if you don't replace the behavior, they're not going to learn what to do instead, and they're always going to run.
Thank you, Arnell. That was awesome. Does
You're
anyone
welcome.
else have any questions or concerns that you want to talk about?
I
And I'll
think
just-
that, oh, go ahead, Camille.
I'll just add for those of you who have younger kids, my son is 18, and he was a runner. And we would go to the grocery store and I would let him walk, and I knew he was going to run. And countless times, whether it's at the grocery store, at malls, at first you're mad because you're like, where are they? And then, seconds later, it feels like hours. You're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe he's really lost this time, or maybe something happened. And I would, like Arnell said, and Christy, it's a lot of it is training and practice. And I say, don't do it. If you're having a bad day or you don't have the time to do it, make sure that you are in the right frame of mind to do it. But I would say, would you like to walk or would you like to ride in the cart? And of course he wanted to walk. And I would say, you can walk, but if you run, you have to get in the cart. And I knew he was going to run. And as soon as he ran, I would put him in the cart. And we probably did that, hundreds or thousands of times until, he would eventually walk with me. And then, some of it for Andrew, it wasn't that he was running away. He was just being independent. One time we were on our camping trip with the foundation out at the Disney park. What's it called, Christy? Fort Wilderness.
Fort Wilderness.
And we were at the Chip and Dale show. And so it's dark out. And it was just me and two of my kids. And, they were little. Andrew was probably 8 or 9 years old. And I could not find him. And, again, at first you're like, oh, I can't believe he walked away. And then you start to be like, it's dark out. We're surrounded by woods. Where could he be? And they made an announcement at the front, Andrew Gardner, please have fun to your mom. Nothing. Everyone's looking. And one of the dads found him in the bathroom. So he did not run off. He decided to go to the bathroom. And so he went to the bathroom, and another time, same thing. We were at Fridays in Times Square. We were at Fridays in Times Square, and we were actually walking together to the bathroom. And I, like, literally in a second, he was gone. And it's a 3-story Fridays. And I couldn't find him. I walked into the bathroom and he was not there. And I had to go to the manager and say, could you please make sure nobody leaves the restaurant? And again, I don't even remember how long he was gone, but it seemed like eternity. And he had actually walked upstairs to the bathroom because he didn't see the bathroom, I guess, on the floor we were on. And I never thought to walk upstairs to check the bathroom. And he just, after he went to the bathroom, he came back. I mean, of course I was looking for him, but he just came back like, nothing was wrong. But of course, all the grays were popping out. But it was constant teaching him, part of growing up is if you're going somewhere, you have to tell an adult. I would never just walk off without telling dad, I'm going to the bathroom, I'm going here, and just teaching him that part of growing up was if you have to, it's not that you can't do that. It's just letting mom know what you're going to do so that I know that you're safe. So it is just, just the constant reminding and teaching. And like Arnell said, if you think of how many times you have to tell your typical kids, and so it just takes extra practice. They're completely capable of doing it. Andrew goes to stores now by himself. He rides his bicycle by himself to get his hair cut. So they are all very capable. It's just having the patience and the time to practice and giving them that extra time to practice. Sometimes, like Arnell said, he might be practicing it at a park where the child could run completely by themselves, but it's just a safe place to practice that skill. So even at home, sometimes you could just say, when mom says stop, you stop. And that way, if you're in a parking lot and you're ever like, stop, then they would know stop. You could just play that, at home and practice in the living room, so there's just giving them that time to practice. So don't give up and don't feel defeated. There is hope.
I think the other thing that I've learned is that either the consequence or the reward has to be greater than whatever they're doing. And it depends on your child, which one. Usually reward is a little bit better, but sometimes it's only a consequence that works at my house. But that's the other thing that I think is that you're always got to be trying to figure out what's motivating to your child. And then other thing, like I said before, if your child is not verbal, one of those bracelets that has information in it is, a stopgap, but continuing to work on phone numbers and spelling and, writing and all of those things are super, super important, because we do teach our kids to be independent, right? And we do want them to do different things. So as we let them do the different things, we have to trust in that independence for them to be successful long-term. So anyways, are there other questions that anybody has for Arnell? That was super helpful. Arnell, I've done ABA and I didn't have the SEAT acronym. So that was super helpful.
It's my the first thing I teach my parents, because if you don't know the function of the behavior, you're gonna do everything, well, not wrong, but you're just gonna get so frustrated. So that's a first thing is know why. If we know why, then that's a good start.
I love what Allison just asked. Do you have any tips for patients, Arnell?
Where do
For what?
parents find,
Oh,
where do
yes.
parents find extra patience?
Okay, I always get this. And it's funny because it's, I do a lot of self-reflection. I don't have anything. When it comes to children, your own children, you are not going to be, it's funny because I'm probably the most patient at my work, but when it comes to my own children, I lose my patience. So I don't. I think it's just, I don't. I mean, for me, I kind of just reflect, because I think about, if I lose my patience, then they might be getting frustrated. So, and kids, they're sponges, right? So they see, they do everything we do and what we say, and if I model that kind of a behavior, I may be teaching them those kind of behaviors too. So
And
I
I
know
think like Camille said, is when you're working on these things, you do have to do it when you know you have the patience to
That's
do it.
right.
And there's a difference between when you're working on something and when you're in crisis mode, right? Like you
Right.
want to practice these things. And so like if you're going to practice not running in the grocery store, and actually Camille helped me with this one, because I would go and I'd load up my whole cart and then I'd have to flip my whole cart to the side. Pick 3 things you're going to go get the day you're going to work on it, right? You're not going to go do your whole grocery shopping. Or, another thing I used to have to work on with Adriana when she was really little is she loved to throw food over to the dog, not elopement, but, throwing her food over to feed the dog. And so I couldn't work on it during the meal, but I would work on it with 5 or 6 bites, right? Like if we can get through these 5 or 6 bites and we're successful and we're not feeding the dog, then we'll have a reward. So we could build, but you have to build up to these things, and that's still to this day, I'm always figuring out what do I have to do to build up to the success point. But you can't do it in crisis mode, and you can't do it when you're tired. Like you have to these are things that you have to work on strategically in advance, knowing, I don't know, she used to run all the time in parking lots, and we had to come up with 3, 2, 1. She didn't, stop didn't work for us. It wasn't, she didn't process or whatever fast enough to get to the stop. So she knew if I did 3, 2, 1 and I got to 1, there was a serious consequence. And same thing for coming. For me, I'd say, Adriana, you need to come here. 3, 2, and by 2, she was there, but she needed that extra minute or cue to process, to stop or to come. Because when I just said stop or just said come, it just wasn't there. So I don't know if that was good or bad advice, Arnell, but that's what worked for us.
Listen, if it works, right, you do it, right, and if you can reward them by following those instructions, that would be my first go-to, is give them those type of reinforcement strategies, right? I'm going to reward you. I'm going to give you lots of praise, lots of hugs. Maybe if you stickers sometimes, right? Or small foods, small candies. That's what I'm going to do, right? But we shouldn't be afraid to use what's called a punishment, right? So I'm going to, if you're not listening, then I'm going to remove you from this fun, right? But like you said, be ready. It's kind of like when you're going into grocery store, you go not to shop, but to work on the skills, right? And if you know you're not going to have the patience, then maybe you shouldn't do it at all, right? Because sometimes you have to do it over and over and over, right? But if we get frustrated because if we have stuff we need to do, then we're gonna lose our patience. But if we know that this is what we're gonna do, this is how we're gonna work on it, then we can have the time to target those things. And I do have one more comment, and I think this may help for some of our families. When it comes to parking lots, I would definitely start practicing going in parking lots with no cars. That's really a lot of my kids. We start in parking lots, just being in a parking lot with no cars. And then what I've done is, the more you respond to stop, come here, walk with me, then what I actually would do is I would start driving my car, right? I would drive it slowly, and I would teach the child, look, what do you do when you see a car? You stop, you don't go, right? And I would slowly go, make eye contact. But you can imagine, we as adults, we do so many things that we don't really think about, that we have to teach our children, right? You need to stop where? You need to stop at the sidewalk, not after, right? You need to stay right there. You need to make eye contact. You need to look at cars, what's going on, right? They may be distracted with everything that's going on in the environment. So we have to be aware of so many things, right? And that's where we got to make sure that they're aware of everything that's going on. So doing it in a safe place is really going to help with your patience, because then and your fears, because then I don't have to worry about you getting hurt, because I know that no cars are going to be here to hit you.
There was one more thing, Arno. Someone wanted to talk, I think. Was it Brittany and Lily? Brittany, did you want to say
Oh,
something?
hey. Yeah,
Hi,
Lily,
Brittany.
say hi.
Hi, Lily.
Hi. I was going to say I was laughing at times when Arnell was talking because yes, I definitely failed at the chase after Lily. She is extremely fast. I mean, she's going to be a track star, no doubt, because she is extremely fast. So I definitely did not do very good on that. She's gotten better, but for those who have younger kids, it's definitely important to make sure that you do not provide that attention because it's a lot easier to handle, like you said, right away than to go on for many years and then try to fix it.
Right.
And then the other thing I was going to say too, it's for those who do have younger kids or even older. I've fought to have Lily in the general education classroom, and it definitely hasn't been easy. There's were a lot more behaviors because I don't think that they had experience working with kids with Down syndrome and understood that behavior was a function of her communication. And so we recently had a behavior intervention plan that was just put in place a couple months ago. And we had another meeting today, and the behaviors have completely, are almost non-existent. So just the power of having, and if you do have anybody in the school system, requesting a behavior and intervention plan and just knowing that those behaviors are their form of communication. And unfortunately, people just think that they're acting out or trying to avoid something when really they just need to be taught in a different way. So I've all the things you were saying are now have been really helpful, and I wish I would have known more of those things before as well.
Thanks, Brittany.
Yes, it's I do want to point out something because the more a lot of our children, right? A lot of our children are in school, right? And I think Brittany, you brought up a good point about having the behavior plan and just making sure that the school know what they need to do, right? And a lot of my clients now, a lot of my kids now, where because I would go and observe, and guess what? 99% of the time, and I know it's heartbreaking that the staff, they don't know these, right? They don't know what to do, right? So even if they have paraprofessionals, even if I have a learner right now who has a one-on-one in the school, right? However, she's kind, however, she does not know what to do, right?
And that's the exact same thing we have at Lily. Lily had an aide. I think that she accelerated Lily's frustration. And so at that point, a new aide was brought in and the behavior plan was put in place, and that made the biggest difference.
Absolutely.
The aide just was young and experienced, didn't really know how to handle a child who had unique needs, and it just kind of ruined most of the school year because she seemed nice. She was a nice person. She just wasn't able to do what Lily needed her to do. So yes, I agree.
Right. So that's where you want to talk to the teachers, you want to talk to the behavior specialists, right? How are you guys addressing this behavior, right? What are you guys doing? And I always recommend to my parents, like, ask questions. What was happening before the behaviors, and also what did you do when the behaviors happened, right? And so if they run away because you give a test and then you send them to timeout, guess what? You allow them to escape, right? And often that's what happens, right? Or if they run away because they want to go on the playground, and then, you know what? Okay, fine, I'm going to give you 5 more minutes on the playground. Like, guess what? You just gave in to that behavior, right? If they're running away because they're laughing, right? And then you go and you talk to them, what are you doing? Come back here. Then I'm giving in to that and giving that attention. So making sure that you're communicating and you're collaborating with the school, and if you have an ABA agency, encourage them to go and talk to the school, collaborate with them. We want to make sure that we're all on the same page, because if we're not, we're actually making the behavior worse, because there's actually a term for that. If one area or one person or one setting is reinforcing the behavior, and then one person or one setting is not, long term, it's going to be so impossible for you to eliminate that behavior because they're getting reinforced in one setting or with one person.
Anyone else?
We have a couple of people that raised their hand. Melissa?
Hi. So my daughter has problems with keeping her hands to herself and stealing other people's glasses, but yet she gets upset when someone steals her glasses. So there's this little ball pit, and they put Lainey in the ball pit with 4 little girls with Down syndrome, and they all have glasses. And guess what? Lainey steals the glasses. The teacher takes a picture and shares with me. Like, she says, "Look what's in her hand." So my question was, this is going to happen. Why would you put her in a ball pit with 4 other kids with glasses? It's like you're setting her up to have this happen. What should be done in that situation?
I'm kind of arguing, okay, why is the teacher doing that, right? I think maybe she thinks that if I put you in this situation, you're having fun, you're going to be less likely to grab because you're having fun with kids in the ball pit. Maybe that's the rationale, right? But like you said, it's not going to happen. So in my suggestion would be, first, why is she doing that, right? What's the function of that behavior? Now this is the question, is she engaging in that behavior because she wants the reaction from the kids?
Yes.
It's an attention.
Yes.
Right? Or is the attention component towards the adults, right? Or is she engaging in that behavior because she really just wants different glasses, right? It really has nothing to do with the attention, but more so getting the glasses themselves, right? And so that's where you have those ABC data where you figure out, why is she doing that? If, let's say, for example, if it is attention from peers, then my teaching would be, have those peers give her lots of attention, give her appropriate attention-seeking behaviors when she's not grabbing those glasses, right? And then that's how peers are giving her those attention. And if it's the glasses, I would teach her to say, hey, I like your glasses. Can I see your glasses? Right?
Right.
Or if it's, no, you keep your hands to yourself, then it's a different thing where I would reinforce her maybe every 1 or 2 minutes or every 5 minutes that she's not touching other people's glasses. Then I'm going to give her maybe some kind of a small reward.
Right. She's on a behavior plan. I asked for a behavior plan because they like to throw it out there that she stayed home virtual and she hasn't been around kids in 18 months. Well, after 9 months of being in school, I'm like, how long can you use that?
Exactly. It's not a.
So
right.
she was in school 2 weeks and I asked for a behavior plan. And then of course it takes that, 60 days or whatever. So
90 days, I believe.
Yeah. So we finally got on the behavior plan. A lot of it was, they keep her headphones on all the time and she's acting out and this and that. Well, it's amazing how when you're not wearing headphones, how much her speech has improved. And I'm like, really? So we have our monthly meeting on how things have improved and they've seen a progress with this behavior plan. But I had, of course, I was the one that asked for it, but it's just amazing what things go on in the classroom that are just crazy.
Right. And I do want to point this out because I just done it recently. In the school, if you're getting the FBA and the behavior plan, there is what's called an IEE, which is the independent evaluation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't agree with the school with their evaluation of the functional behavior assessment, you can request, right? That's part of the ideal, right? You can request the independent evaluation and they're going to grant that. So you go and find somebody, that's neutral, that is going to look at those functions, and then it will help with the school develop those behavior intervention plans.
Okay.
I have one thing to add. I live in Osceola County, but the resource compliance specialist in Osceola County is typically the one who does the behavior intervention plan. I just got lucky enough to have I guess we only have one behavior BCBA, and they are the one that did Lily's. but I think it would have been very different had the resource compliance specialists do it versus the actual BCBA, because they're the ones that have the knowledge and the education to be able to put in place one that would be most accurate. So yeah, I would agree, if you had somebody who was not qualified at the schools to do the behavior intervention plan, then it'd be beneficial to request that IEE for someone who is more qualified. I don't know if it's like that in other counties, but that was just our experience.
Jean, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, for those of us that may not know, I'm in St. Lucie County, and St. Lucie County typically did not allow RBTs into the schools, only BCA or BCBAs. But there's a law that just passed, and I think it goes into effect, if it hasn't already.
July 1st.
July. Yeah,
Yeah.
July.
So now RBTs will be allowed in the schools, whereas in our county they didn't. So now they have no excuse not to let them in, because obviously, like Melissa was saying, if the school staff and are now, like he said, if they aren't qualified to know how to handle the situation, it just makes it worse. I mean, in the school system, unfortunately, is making it worse because they don't know what is going on. They're not looking at the big picture of the child and finding out the real reason why the child is doing something. They might guess and assume, but I've found that sometimes when I ask my daughter why she did something, she'll actually answer me, and it was not at all what anybody thought it was the reason for it. So sometimes you might even actually be able to ask the child themselves, not during the moment, but after the fact, in those moments of when you're really connecting with them, to tell you why they did something, and it might be completely different than anybody thought was the reason. So I just wanted to share that, because sometimes, with the ABA, they do, have obviously certain things that are common, but sometimes it's not at all what you thought it was going to be when you actually figure it out.
Right, right.
So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Anything else?
Now's your
I think
chance.
just, I was gonna say, I think parents just give yourself grace, because we've all been there, and it's something that we all have to learn at different points in time. But it's doable. It's definitely doable. And I think the other thing that I say a lot is, my daughter, one of our challenges might be impulse control in a lot of different areas. So I think another thing is teaching our kids to stop and think before they go, or do something, and just building that into, like, we do it with all different things, but it's just patient. I know patience is hard, but I think that's just another thing when you're thinking about elopement and why they're trying to go do something, is building in that wait and go, wait and eat, wait and do, wait. And, I'm always trying to teach my daughter to take a breath before you say, or take a, that's one of my other things when it comes to her.
And there's
elopement.
nothing wrong with, before you go to do it, you're walking out of the store, you're holding their hand. Remember, we're going to walk across the parking lot. You have to hold mom's hand. It could be dangerous. When you get to the car and they did it, to say, that was so great, nice job. And, to reverse and give them that attention for doing it right. Because I don't know, maybe I'm the only one, we tend to give them more attention when we're correcting them. If they're good, we they don't get any attention. They just do whatever, because we don't have to pay attention, because they're just doing the right thing.
That's pretty normal. You don't look at somebody when they're sitting nicely on the couch watching TV. You say something when they're jumping up and down on the couch. It's just normal human behavior. So,
Right. You can also Google social stories, like walking in a parking lot or things like that. I haven't done it for a long time, but I know when Adriana was little, I would look on YouTube for different social stories. I don't know if there are resources still out there, but how you do it right and how you do it wrong. We even do that right now for our I Can Work program. Good customer service, bad customer service. How do you ask for, a break or whatever? So definitely it's an ongoing learning experience. But I think Arnell's given us some really good things to think about.
So let me jump in real quick if you don't mind. Theodore started ABA therapy, and his BCBA had suggested social stories as a way to help with things. And there's actually an app. It is called Social Stories. And it's just a picture of a person holding a pink book. I don't know if you can see that.
No, we can't see because you have the background blurred, so it does, if it's not a face, it is blurred.
I'm blurred.
It's under where it says stop video. If you click on the arrow, the blur my background is probably clicked. But you said the app's called Social Stories?
Yes. It's just a picture of a person holding a pink book. And the pink book says Social Stories. And you can create your own, but there's also some that have already been created in the app.
Okay, that's cool. Very cool. I'm gonna look it up while we are answering the other questions. I'll see what I find. Dana, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah, I do. I appreciate this conversation. This is really good discussion tonight. And just kind of going back to what you were saying about the IE. So my daughter, I have to say I can relate to everything, like the lack of patience, sometimes the runner, my daughter, she's pulling hair. We did go through, she's in Seminole County, and we did go through the FBA, the BIP. She's got all that on our IEP, and it has helped. It's been helpful. She actually has a para too, which has been a tremendous turnaround for the second part of the year. But I still feel like I'm kind of questioning, like, so they have the behavioral therapist there, and I'm not trying to say that they're not qualified, but I feel like I get more help. Like, we have to pay out of pocket for ABA therapy, like private pay outside, and I'm willing to do that because I know it helps her, but like I feel like I get more from them. And I've asked the school, like, hey, can my therapist come in and just, maybe help give another insight, right? Like, and we're not saying that they're not doing their job, but so is that what I can use? Because their whole response to me is, well, it's our problem, we'll figure it out. And I can appreciate that. They want to do everything to help us, but at the same time, we're just trying to help. Like, so requesting that IE, is that what I would do?
No, that one is for the FBA and the IEP,
Okay.
but this would be my suggestion.
Okay.
Right. So having your private BCBA to do some good collaboration with the school.
Okay.
Right. Because I think that's if they're not doing that right now, I think that's the next step.
Okay.
And then kind of giving them the strategies, those proactive strategies and those consequent strategies when your child engages in these behaviors.
Okay.
Right. What I've also done is I try as much as possible to replicate some of those triggers in the school during my clinic sessions or my home sessions. And I literally would record my session and I would send it to the school. And I would say, this is what I would do in this situation. Because I can just tell them and write it, but it's different if they see it, me implementing those strategies. So, and another thing that you can do is, because this is something that I feel like it's not being done in the school, is having that fidelity checks for these paraprofessionals that are working with your children. So meaning they don't have, they're not being supervised by qualified staff, right? These behaviors, BCBAs or other behavior specialists. So how often are they being supervised on what they're doing? Because there is what's called where you lose, right, behavioral drift, where you at first you're great at what you're doing, but then you kind of lose track of those strategies. You go into this drift. So we avoid doing that in our company by having constant, 2-3 times supervision,
Mhm.
right? That we go and supervise our RBTs. So that way we want to make sure that they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, because that is very, very important to do that. So in the school setting, that's going to be very challenging. So I would
Mhm.
recommend and ask them, how often are these staff being supervised by their supervisors or BCBAs?
Okay. No,
Those,
those are great points. And kind of to I think it was Brittany was saying that too, was, with the her parent is she's amazing. She's very sweet. But again, it's like, yeah, is she kind of being, is she having that oversight or being trained, right, on when these behaviors, like we're having non-compliance, we're pulling hair.
right.
And before we were a lot in the gen ed setting, and we still are, we still have a lot of time in gen ed, but it's happening in both classrooms.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if she's in gen ed, or because of course their whole point was, well, she needs to be in an ESE classroom, they can focus on that. And we've just proven that it doesn't matter, right? It
Right.
doesn't
No,
matter
it
where
doesn't.
she's at, she's
Right.
still having these issues. So,
Right.
all right, I like that. I appreciate it.
Mhm. You're welcome.
Have you asked for training for her aide?
We have it. Like this all just kind of, so like the first half of the year was a disaster. We
Oh,
just
same with
went in.
me. We
So
probably
like
couldn't
full-time,
talk.
we went into full-time kindergarten. We thought she was ready, and boy, was I surprised. And we just ran into so many behavioral issues. And then by the time we went through that and the evaluations, we didn't get the para till like January, February. So for the past few months, like I said, it's been great, but yeah, so I haven't, because I don't really know like what to ask. Obviously, like I have an older child, but my youngest is the one that has Down syndrome. So I haven't been down this road yet, so that's why we
You
have
can
our support.
request on your IEP for her to get special training. I mean,
Okay.
anything that you think she would benefit from,
Okay.
you're able to ask for. Like I had them listen to, I forget who was the one that spoke on it, but they had to do I think it was 8-hour specific that the school found on handling kids with Down syndrome with behaviors. I don't
Okay.
know that it really helped. I think it was more of the BCBA
Right.
coming in and doing that and having them see that it actually worked that helped more.
Okay.
But they will pay for that and having
Okay.
that school, that part. And then also I put in the text, the David Stein supporting positive behaviors with children in Down syndrome is excellent. So if anybody, it talks a lot about what, what's the BCABA, is it Eldon? The things that he said, and just
Mhm.
helps provide information. So for any parents, that's like invaluable resource as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, we seem to have a really great discussion about a lot of things, including elopement, but all of it's kind of related. Arnell, I think you've been really instrumental in facilitating some good discussions tonight, and I think it's great that you are all sharing between each other, our families.
Arnell, would you mind sharing where you work?
Sure.
Plug.
Here, I will. I work at Human Behavioral Services, and we have various clinics in Waterford area, and we have one in Kissimmee, and then we have one in the Metro West area. We actually have a school for children with special needs from K to 12, and we're a performing arts school.
Really? What's the name of it?
Cayman Academy for the Performing Arts, and we're located in Lake Eleanor. I will type in my, if you guys want to find out more information. I know I'm not here to advertise my butt if you guys want information, but regardless of where you guys are, what type of companies you guys, your BCBAs, I really encourage, for me, my goal this year is to do a lot more collaboration. Right, me as a BCBA, we want to make sure that we're collaborating with families, with caregiver, right, with teachers, because in my experience, if we can't all get along, right? If we all can't be on the same page, it's really hurting the child. So doesn't matter where you are, what you work, you know, what company your agency is, or what your ABA provider, have them, right, have them do that collaboration, and talk to the school. What can we do, right? How can we support you, right? We as behavior specialists, because we're here to support the school, the parents, the therapists, everybody.
And I think the other thing that you said that we'll say, I think as a parent and a foundation, that's really important. When we provide the ABA scholarships, not part of, the success really comes when you as the parent work with the ABA professional. Because if the ABA professional only works with your child or only works with your teacher, then you're missing like 50% of the program. And I've always said, Adriana, I said this earlier, Adriana's ABA has been more for me than it's for her. So as we love to provide the scholarships, but really if we learn from the professionals, at the end of the day, it goes faster and we're more successful. But I think that they do provide some, and it's not always fixing behavior. Sometimes, I think, I used ABA for speech for Adriana. It was like how to use positive behaviors to get her to speak. I will say I put a little note in the chat for Camille and Arnell, we love you giving your company a plug because we believe in collaboration also. But I put a little note in to Camille. I was like, oh, this kind of went off topic. We need to have a monthly session with ABA professionals or something like that. So our families can just get on maybe once a month and ask these questions because it's really relevant. You guys you all have the same questions. So I think it would be, something that, please. I think that maybe that's something that we can do as an organization is figure out a way to collaborate with some of the professionals in the community, because if they're hearing our concerns and you guys are talking amongst each other, we all get better. So collaboration is definitely key. And we thank you Arnell, for giving your time tonight.
Welcome, my pleasure.
You actually provided a lot of additional information besides just elopement.
Thank you, Arnell.
Well, next month, our parent meeting is going to be in person. So we are super excited about that. I think the date it's the third Thursday. I think is it June 16th, ladies?
Yes, I think it's the 16th.
At Summit Church on Colonial Drive, so that we hope that you can come out and join us. Christy, do you want to share the topic?
Sure. It's actually a parent. Her name is Barbara Burns, and she created a supplement, I guess I would say, called Core Correct, and it is designed to fix leaky gut. And it was designed actually not for her son that has Down syndrome, for one of her other sons. She has, I think, 5 kids. But leaky gut is something that impacts our children frequently. It actually impacts the whole population a lot. But she is going to share some of the things that she has seen in improved behavior, cognition, sleep, skin, diet, all kinds of things, as she's helped her family, not just her son with Down syndrome, who's a young adult, but her family overall. And I think it's something that I will say, one of my layman observations as someone who works with a lot of families in the Down syndrome community is I often see autoimmune issues in our parents in addition to our kids. And a lot of that comes from autoimmune. So rheumatoid arthritis and sticky, joints and stuff like that. It's something that will be really helpful for your kids. And it may be helpful for you as well. But she'll be talking about the gut brain connection and healing leaky gut or preventing it when they're little. So I think it'll be a really good program. And Melissa said, can next month be virtual too? We are going to meet in person, and we have not figured out how to add in the virtual component yet, but it's something that we're looking at. Any other thoughts or comments? No? Well, we're getting ready to go into summer. So I hope everybody has fun plans and fun plans for your kids. It's a great time to work on reading and potty training and elopement and swimming and all of those things. Hopefully you've taken advantage of our scholarship programs and will be able to do some of those things. Camille, Robin, do you have anything else?
I don't think so. Thank you all for being here. It's great to see
Welcome to
everybody and share
Yeah,
information.
thank you so much.